tipo. Hello, and thank you for your patience. Welcome to turn 3 of City of Cards. It's Halloween, and the nights are getting longer and spookier and colder, which means you guys, as Kindred, are getting up to more and more. Tensions are running a little high with the contempt, I imagine. I've heard a lot of conversations and a lot of factions about the contempt as a result of the congressional bill, with all the various, let's say, naive neonates in your own turf and terrain and domain deciding, you know what, I want to stake claim of a little bit here in this Patriots district or in downtown Boston. I want to go over a wee bit of the Long Wharf. This should be mine. So in the background, you've had to stamp down on any differing opinions on who owns what. But you've, as the organization is on your side in terms of coteries against single-minded and naive neonates, all new to this, just taking an opportunity, you've been able to hold strong. So let us first roll initiative and discover how this order of events is going to take place. Right, Redcoats are coming in strong with a number 10. Then the Patriots are at 4, bringing them down here. The group is above them at 5. The Custodians also at 5, so that's going to be a roll-off. The Knights tight in behind the Redcoats, with the Gemini League also at 4. So 2 roll-offs. 2 roll-offs between 2 sets of factions in regards to the NPCs. Boston Camarilla coming in first. The First Light all the way at the bottom. And the Society of St. Leopold coming in second. So 2 roll-offs. First we'll do the Custodians and the group, which means they will roll 2 D10s, left for the Custodians, right for the group. 3, 5. The group goes before the Custodians. And again, left for Gemini League, right for the Patriots. 2 D10s. 2, 1. The Patriots go first. The Gemini League goes last. Righty. Oh, it's been a busy October IRL for all of us. So I appreciate you guys being able to get your actions in despite the busy lives that we all lead. Now, talking about actions, I have to go to the Redcoats, which thankfully reminds me about the assists that you guys are performing with one another. 2 assists are happening in this turn. The first assist is actually between the Redcoats and the group. So in order to obey the rules of this game, I must edit this status map to inform us that there's a positive shift between relations between the group and the Redcoats as they assist to one another. And there is another assist, an assist that may cause some tension between the Kindred Society, between First Light and the Society of St. Leopold. I'm sure that will all become clear in the fullness of time. Speaking of the Redcoats, let's have a look at their faction sheet. They had a pretty decent turn last turn, getting the Omni Parker House, a very difficult to claim domain, but now it's firmly under their control. Yep. I mean, you guys are allowed to be friends. Why can't the human hunters be friends? They should hate each other. They're definitely doing something with each other. It will all become clear in the fullness of time, I imagine. 1 coin passive for the Redcoats. They gain coin. And their first action, of course, was to assist the group with an action of their own. We'll see what that is. Their second action is to claim a domain. And that is the Fanuel. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, because I realize I've only ever had to read this for the last 6 months. The marketplace. The ending point of the Kindred of Liberty and the birth of the Boston Camarilla. A landmark in Boston Kindred history. That is true. Kindred are rarely friends. They're merely associates that occasionally you need to shake someone's hand in order to then reach behind and stab them in the back. That is true. Now, Redcoats are claiming Fanway Marketplace. They already have 2 ticks out of 4, and with the congressional bill, it means that they gain a tick for performing this action, which means they're all but guaranteed to get this roll, to get this filled out. And they roll a 6 anyway. Just how good of a performance they did in the marketplace to now claim it under their banner for the Redcoats. Look at that. 4 domains in the downtown Boston. They're going strong. That means they now get a new ability, +1 dice to resolve events of the Kindred dispute type, because of the neutral meeting grounds that they now have sway over. Very, very nice. Yes. It seems to be the when you don't need a many ticks left in a roll. That's when you roll the best, because you're so confident that you're going to succeed. You succeed that much more. Now, we are at entanglements, and that contempt I was alluding to earlier. We're at 5 contempt for the Redcoats, which means we roll in the 4/5 category for entanglements. Let's see. They gain 2 contempt. I guess claiming the once neutral, the neutral ground may piss off a couple of Kindred, and I suppose the Redcoats, the former frontline soldiers and loyal servants of the much despised Triad, may disgruntle a couple of Kindred around Boston that they're now holding the Kindred of Liberty historic mark. Yes, thank you for reminding me, 209JJ, player of the Redcoats, about your narrative, because you have written some gorgeous words, and I must let the folks know what exactly is Sacred Lands. Well, interesting. Is the contempt perhaps coming from the knights? Is that what our knight players are suggesting? Interesting. Well, I shall do it backwards and read the narrative, that I should have read at the beginning. Now we'll zoom into the Fanwell Marketplace. 10 spears go into battle, and 9 shatter. Did the war forge the one that remained? No. All the war did was identify the spear that would not break. Apart from City Congress, the Redcoats have been abnormally absent from any public sightings. Sir Morris, for example, is one to be known to make regular appearances in the Kind World, and make a successful effort of hiding in plain sight. But all members of the Redcoats, no matter their station, were absent. And if they were out, they were not seen. The acquisition of Omni Parker House was a huge success, and perhaps one expected a party or a celebration. Some boasting, showing off to the rest of the city of their prowess, but there was instead silence, as if the claiming of the elusive building was no more monumental than that of a pizzeria. Still, their silence did not equate to idleness. Rumors and indications and dealings. Rumors of interactions and dealings with other factions spreads, and those who with keen eyes could see an ever so slight increase of well-dressed individuals around Fanwell Marketplace in the long hours of the nights. Interesting. Dealings, indeed. Dealings between the green and the reds. The green, greedy, money-hoarding group. I'm not being offensive, I hope. And the red, what's this? Slightly snag. Red-coated, red-stained, red-blooded kindred of the Redcoats becoming friends, and now look, they're sharing a border. Fascinating. Are we talking about war already? Are we talking about a conflict between coteries? There's a lot tagging in our church. We're only collecting it so it might be spilled. The Guild and the Triumphant, as the Knights would refer to them, yes. Yes, it seems to be that this partnership, maybe it's the partnership between the Redcoats and the group, who is getting eerily close to churches which the Knights have their eyes on. Actually, is there any downside between your status? No, you're pretty neutral at the moment. Anyhow, let's move on. Free sandwiches? Oh, that is so kind of you. Can you like put blood into sandwiches? Can you have like blood sandwiches instead of like jam sandwiches? Jam infused with blood. Sounds tasty. Now we move on to the Knights, who are throwing some fiery words in the chat. Let us see what they have written lore-wise. As written by Sir Princess, the words exact of our Queen, Queen King, and her declaration. I will say that this brief stint of clarity has been a welcome one, even though a blood-clotted mind likely would not have changed my approach. Our little kingdom is coming along nicely. Soon it will be our own slice entirely, and when madness comes for me again, a state or barony in which the order has a grip over the entire community. Their first passive is to gain XP. Their first action is to spend a minor boon, which is from a minor boon. Just going to check, because I have written some things that doesn't make sense in my notes. Yes, a trivial boon, which is a 1-die trivial boon from the start of the game, and they're going to spend it to claim Admiral's Hill Mariana. The thing that has boats at it. The word that means boats, which they started last turn and thus only need 2 ticks. And because of the congressional bill, they gain a tick. And we are going to see how well they do in this roll. And again, they rolled a 6. I think we could have all predicted that, considering the trend at which has occurred with only needing 1 tick. Again, massive successes, massive strides, and now the knights have access to the water, as it would seem. Their little kingdom up here is indeed coming along nicely. And it means now that they have access to a yacht club domain, they'd be able to use the waterways. For those of you not quite familiar, the only way to use these kind of like dash lines is to have access to one of the domains that has a little blue flag on it, which means it is connected to the Maria, the water lines, the Maria. I'm going to have to name something the Maria now. It seems to be in my head. Because you guys have access to the yachts and the ability to park your yachts. And now you're able to move around the water and get access to different parts of the city via boat. The dice gods do know. They're very cruel. Very cruel dice gods that we have here in City of Cards. Now, we are looking at their next actions, which has a little bit more narrative for me to read. But, whereas in my maddened mind, I would have continued the march to secure our borders, it is with this clarity that I can see another path that is just as important. Long have I longed for that which I can see with my heaven steeples at night. Long have I known that to control the mortal peasantry, you must be the one who dictates the slow changes of their mind's state and policy. Long have I known what it takes to reign, for I was the most faithful to the Arthurian when he did so. So, we must divert. We must take City Hall for ourselves before others of our kind believe their goals mightier or their merit stronger. When our banner adorns those halls, real change will come to grace this city. Changes that may be slower than a lame mule at first, but change that will not be stopped. They will all see eventually. The knights are meant to reign. Bold words indeed. Now, action 1, or their first regular action, is to claim City Hall, which is a 5-tick clock because it is 1 link beyond their closest domain. City Hall has no effect of it in itself, but it is at the very center of downtown Boston and the city bit of Boston, city center of Boston, meaning they have a lot of access to Boston through it. Now, that means because it is 1 link away, it's a 5-tick clock. I'm not allowed to have 5 ticks in this sheet, so I will create a 6-tick clock and fill in a tick already. We are talking about a claim domain action at the City Hall. Whoop. Some discourse in chat over the nature of this action here. I guess you guys could work out an arrangement. Or if, make a race out of it that someone's already started. Now, because of the bill, they get an automatic tick. And they use tier to roll for this action. They rolled a 4, which is 2 ticks. And can we guess what their second regular action is? Yes, you would be correct. It is to roll to claim domain on the City Hall. 1 tick automatically, meaning they only need 1 tick left. Let us see what they roll. A 3, which is all they needed to indeed claim the City Hall. And the banners of the knights fly over the City Hall. Probably not literally, because that might be a strange sight in the middle of the city and have questions, but to all kindred kind, it has been firmly written into domain law that the knights have stewardship over the city hall. Now, let us move on to the entanglements that this has resulted. We're talking 3 contempt out of 9, which means they are only in the first bracket of entanglements. They gain 1 scrutiny to a domain. Now, I'm going to count out and give numbers to the domains so we know which one of these domains has gained scrutiny. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. We will roll a d6. That is 4, which means the Pentecostal churches gains a scrutiny. Their actions have garnered the attention, the piquing of interest, the mere suggestion that there might be something going on there that is beyond the normal at 1 out of 8 scrutiny. Are we owed a coin, I think? Are you owed a coin? Do you mind elaborating on that, Emma, as to why you might be owed a coin? I'm trying to recall off the top of my head as to why that might be the case. Oh, I see. Are you talking about the start of your passives? Yes. Oh, I forgot to update my side notes. Thank you, thank you. Now, 1 coin. Added there. Now, did I add the XP? I think I did, because it's 3 turns. You gain a passive XP from the start of the game. Thus, you have 3 XP. And you've not yet done any action that means you would gain XP otherwise. Oh, and that also then reminds me of your faction ability. Jewels of Kings and Queens, which means your Jewel of Kings and Queens clock gains another tick. Okay, awesome. We can remove these 2. Oh, yep, we can remove those 2 because they have now completed. We have done your entanglements. And we can move on to the group who have been assisted and have been in deals with the Redcoats. Let us see what their narrative is. As I open it up on the right. Now, the group continues their work. The group continues to work their influence, acting like the humble and experienced mechanic of Boston. As the wheels get greased and the city's kindred get upsold on the newest plots, relationships inevitably develop. The question is, which relationships are genuine and which supposed allies are merely the newest mark? Very good questions coming from the group here. Very good things to be always keeping in your mind when you're arranging deals and status quos and spheres of influence. Who are you talking to that are offering you things, or merely looking for another angle? Their first action. Oh, before, let's do passives. They don't get any natural resources, but Deer Islands gives them 1 tick to their long-term project, trying to upgrade Gibson House. And their first action is to claim domain of Trinity Church, and they get +1 die from the Redcoats assist, and the bill gives them an automatic tick. So that's claim domain, automatic tick from the congressional bill. We are talking about Trinity Church, the very church, one of the very churches that the Knights have so eagerly and vocally called interest for. And they rolled here, and they get a bonus die thanks to, no, not 1 die, 2 dice, because the Redcoats own Omni Parker House, and it gives them +1 die during assisting of a faction action. You give them 1 use of +2 dice. Indeed, Thank you also for screaming at me in chat, because I needed that reminder. Indeed, phew. Thank goodness we wouldn't have need to do rerolls or additional rolls. So that's 3 dice. That's a lot of dice to claim this church. Let us see. And that's a 6. And that indeed is the group controlling Trinity Church. Get that green coloring in. And it means they gain 1 rep when performing the reduced scrutiny action. I wonder why, then, they are performing the reduced scrutiny action. Let me double check. When gaining domains, does an ability come into immediate effect? Domains, domains have firmly controlled any faction, primary use, some domains possess an effect that grants domains that possess an effect. The mechanic of domains is detailed. After a domain is claimed, an effect only begins to impact the mechanics of the game in the following turn. I.e., if a faction gain control of... Oh my gosh, I did not know this was going to happen. If they gain control of Trinity Church, then performed a reduced scrutiny action, they would not gain the bonus 1 rep for the performing action, as the faction is only... That is eerily weird that my foresight when writing these rules detected Trinity Church. So, unfortunately, that means that doesn't influence this next action of reduced scrutiny, but it will then influence actions going forward in next turns, because their second action is to reduce the scrutiny at Omni Parker House in probably return for that assist, because Omni Parker has got 5 scrutiny at the moment. Definitely something that needs to be looked at. Now we go to the group and look at what it is required to roll. They have 2 dice in mental, which means they're rolling 2 dice, and they're doing reduced scrutiny. And we will see. That is a 5, which means they reduce it by 2 if I am double confirming. Reduce scrutiny, 4 out of 5, 2. They reduce it to 2, which is down to 3 scrutiny. Righty. Oh. Lovely. But they are not done yet, because they are spending a minor boon from a resolve event that they gained last turn to resolve an event at the Conley container terminal. A lovely decree enforcement event, which requires a social roll, but because they are using a minor boon, they roll 2 dice no matter what, because it's a minor boon. Kindred citizens are present. Probably makes sense, because the Boston Camarilla laws are needing enforcement. You need someone to enforce the laws onto. And in doing so, they will gain 3 coin and 2 rep. Very nice. So they roll 2 dice. I am going to roll 2d6s just here. And that is a 5, which means they get only 1 contempt, I believe. Resolve events, 4 or 5. They gain the reward, and only 1 contempt. Only 1. Lovely. But they also gain the reward, 3 coin and 2 rep. Lots of juicy... That was not the right button. Here's the right button. There we go. Lots of juicy reputation and coin now under the control of the group, thanks to resolving that event. And I am going to remove that event for future me, so I do not increase the scrutiny of this domain. Done. Now, you rolled a 4 and a 5 on the scrutiny, which reduced it by 2. And chat is also jumping in there, answering yes. And you have just rolled a 5 on your minor boon action to resolve the event, which means you only gained 1 contempt. You gained the resources and such. Now, we are moving on to, speaking of contempt, entanglements. That is 5 contempt, which means we're in the 4/5 bracket. Let us see. Grant 2 scrutiny to a domain. Let us count your now 4 domain. Here. 1, 2, 3, 4. I am going to roll. Oh no, I should know this. I practiced this ages ago. Aha! I have a D4 here. I can just do that. Phenomenal. 3. 1, 2, 3. Boston Common. Gains a scrutiny. Gains not 1 scrutiny, but 2 scrutiny. The parks are getting some eyes brought to it. Intriguing. Yeah, I mean, the SI are scary. They're always on the lookout. Everywhere in Boston, they are keeping their eyes peeled for anything that is out of order. Anything that must, not necessarily must, but may be relation to kindred activity. Now, that is the group. Pretty decent turn, if I do say so myself. And now we move on to the custodians, who gain 1 coin, and now also gain 1 XP, thanks to the War Memorial Recreation Center that they claimed last turn. Now, their first action is to claim the burying grounds. The SES, which is Southeast South, I think. I'm not entirely sure what the SES stands for. But the burying grounds are down here, which is actually home to one of the yes, the Courier Ghoul. One of the Courier Ghouls who is stationed there all the time, ready to be able to take messages back and forth for kindreds who want to make use of the courier service. Obviously, the burying ground used to be of great interest to the Hekata that were here a decade and a bit ago, but because they're no longer in city, not much interest there apart from the Courier Ghoul stationed here, which, because you get access to then the Courier Ghoul network, means mechanically you're a bit faster on the mark, more initiative. So that is a 4-tick clock because it's right next to their domain. We are going to type this in. Claim domain SES burying ground. I'm pretty sure it's southeast south, as in southeast Boston. Oh no, maybe it's South End, because that's what the neighborhood. That's what the neighborhood is called, isn't it? Yeah, South End Boston. So maybe South End South burying grounds. That's plausible. That's what I'm going to go with. Now, they roll social because of their deft arguments and rightful claims factionability. The congressional bill gives them a automatic tick to gaining it, and they are rolling social. Yes, not tier. I was looking at the tier button and having to course correct. They roll social, so that is 2 dice. It is a 2. And that is a 3, so that is 1 tick. 1 tick gained. And their next action is to claim the Valent Branch Library. A different place. So they are putting their fingers in a lot of places, in a lot of different pies, to, I guess, it is an attempt, if I'm reading this right, it's probably an attempt to make the most of the congressional bill without maybe quote unquote spending it on one ticks, which they could just gain perhaps from doing claim domain actions outside of when the congressional bill effect is in effect. Now, that is 4 ticks because it is right next to them, and I am now having a sudden moment of questioning, is that right? Is that how you measure claim domain? Yep, 4 ticks, 1 link away. So 4 links, automatic tick because of the congressional bill. They roll 2 dice because of their factionability, and they roll social, which is 2 dice. It's fortune roll, submit, standard submit. That is a 5. That is 2 ticks, and they are 1 tick away. The custodians are definitely looking to gain a lot of domain, as is everyone. Everyone's using the congressional bill to the extent that I imagined it would be when designing it. So now that brings us then to entanglements. And they have 4 contempt, which means they're in the 4 to 5 bracket. Let us see. Gain +2 scrutiny to a domain. Makes sense. Probably beneficial that they haven't actually claimed any of those domain check, because then, well, I mean, it lowers the number down to these domains as to what can increase into scrutiny now. Now I'm going to count 1 for the power station, 2 for Back Bar, Cambridge Recycling Centre 3, War Memorial Recreation Centre for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. A D4, that is 2. Back Bar gets the scrutiny, and that is +2 scrutiny to the domain. More of those SIIs getting drawn. That is being defiant. The SI really want to cheat at this game here. You're not allowed to cheat, SI. You got to play by the rules. Oh, okay. Now the custodians are trying to cheat. There we go. There we go. We are now moving on to the Patriots. Let us see what the Patriots action. Now, I think the Patriots are doing a different approach. Yes, they are. They see their contempt, and they're a little bit on edge. Thus, they are rolling social to reduce that contempt. I imagine the narrative, they haven't had the opportunity to write any narrative for this, but I imagine Weaver and perhaps Elle, if Elle gets their hand dirty, and probably the police, the police under Henry's green thumb, under Henry's influence and money, are going around punching in the heads of any neonates that are going about and saying, "You're not allowed. Get over yourselves. This is Patriots' domain." Oh, you put up. Phenomenal. Thank you, Vosh. Oh my gosh. Look at you. Look at you. We got live reporting on the fly. Phenomenal. Thank you. Now, oh gosh. I have to sight read this. This is scary. Here we go. In the first hour, you have none of it, and none is expected of you. In the second hour, you have it forced upon you, against your will. In the third hour, it comes to you as naturally as sunlight, and only now you recognize it. It is freedom, but at that moment, you have no more hours left to enjoy it. What is it? If one couldn't answer this question, they had no business to be calling the shots, and they were still within their second hour, painfully bereft of what was required of them to truly appreciate their circumstances as kindred. Uppity fledglings who think themselves powerful because they stand above mortal men. Well, such is the way of things. Weaver was in her third hour, and many more besides. She took it as her personal responsibility to impose these principles to these whelps, and help guide their knights within Boston. Some lessons just needed to be learned through blood and agony. In the first hour, you have none of it, and none is expected of you. In the second hour, you have it forced upon you against your will. In the third hour, it comes to you as naturally as sunlight, and only now you recognize it. It is freedom, but at that moment, you have no more hours left. What is it? It is patience, of course. Phenomenal. Thrilling. Riddles. Gosh, I didn't know Weaver was a riddler. I'm now even more terrified to see them in action as they beat in the heads of those neonates and fledglings who happen to be in Patriot territory and think they can go against the Worcester contract. Let us see them reduce contempt through social means, of course. Social punching. I guess maybe it's now that they have to punch people, now they have to use their words to explain why. We are reducing contempt. And see how well they talk to our kindred and say, this is why we're punching their heads in. 2 means 1, so that's 1 down. Their second action, their second regular action, is again to reduce contempt. Yep, they wrote really, really well. Suddenly inspired, it was brilliant inspiration. You did phenomenal, Vosh, and I appreciate it. Giving a little bit of context and spicing up the stream a little. You guys do phenomenal. And again, 2. Now, not the most effective, but we've brought you down from the 6 entanglement bracket to the 4/5 entanglement bracket. But yes, I am greatly appreciative of all the action narrative that you guys provide, because it gives a lot of yes, you guys do have a license for stabbing. Sure, and if it's only superficial wounds, they'll grow it back. But you guys, yeah, your writings help spice these streams up and gives everyone a wee bit of insight as to why it is your factions are doing it. The rolls weren't the best. I can acknowledge that. Let us see what the entanglement is. We are in the 4/5 bracket. And it's getting 2 scrutiny to a domain. I guess maybe going around punching kindred in the face might bring some attention that it might be unwanted. So let us have a look at and count these out. 1 for the Cambridge Pizzeria. Museum of Fine Arts is 2. The police station 3. The Immigration Assistance Center 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. A D4. 2. It is the Museum of Fine Arts gains 2 scrutiny up to 5 out of 8 scrutiny. What is going on in this museum that has the SI so intrigued? Giddy ants. Fascinating stuff. And last, but certainly not least, it is the Gemini League. I suppose having absolutely cracked it out of the park last turn in taking over Winthrop last turn, you guys needed a wee breather, which is totally valid. Everyone needs a wee breather, even though we don't breathe and we are undead. You gain XP, and I'm now checking. Nope, the Patriots don't gain, at least to my notes, any passives. You gain XP, so that is your 4th XP. And you have a little bit of narrative for each of the actions. Spooky Gemini for the spooky time of month. Exactly. It's Halloween. The recent moves by the Gemini have already alarmed some of the Boston kindred. The League will need to exert a bit of pressure to convince them of their good intentions. They look to resolve the event at Candle Pins, which I believe is a kind politics, so mortal politics. Something about the mortals they are going to have to put a delicate massage on and adjust. Maybe Candlepins has had a health inspection for all the Candlepin sporting events, and they need them not to look in the basement and see all the magic happening downstairs. It requires a physical roll. The Boston Camarilla is present. Intriguing. That must refer to the little narrative being thrown in there. Boston Camarilla is present, and if resolved, it gets them 1 rep and 2 XP. So they roll physical, which they have with the 1 dice. Physically massaging kind of mortal politics, kin politics. Indeed. Interesting. Several greaser gangs fighting over who gets the loiter there. You need to punch them in. Let us see how you do. Oh. Oh, okay. That's a 1, which means you get 2 contempt. So, about that reassuring of Boston Kindred that you have good intentions, could have gone better as you gain 2 contempt, but you do get 2 XP, putting you over the halfway mark for your XP tracker, and you gain 1 rep. Did I give you the coin? Can you guys in chat recall if I gave you the coin? Because I've noticed again in my personal notes I have not updated it, and I am now doing the process of updating it. But did I give them the coin? I have a feeling I didn't. I definitely gave the XP, or I have a good confidence I gave the XP. Oh, I know how I can check this. I can look at your faction sheet on the Discord server. I did not give you the XP or the coin. No, I did give you the XP. It's 2 XP? Yeah, I did give you the XP, but I didn't give you the coin. There you go. You had 3 XP to start. You gained 1 XP, and then you got 2 XP. Cool. Yes, yes. Indeed. Thank you very much to and only JJ for giving that handy way to check my mistakes and catch them. So their next action is... The Necromancer's old hold has many in the League worried about a curse, and unwanted eyes gazing upon it. For the good of all, they will counter magic with magic. They are looking to reduce scrutiny on the Giovanni building. Ah yes, the Giovanni building. The once headquarters of the Hecata in Boston. And has weird things going on, and especially in the month of Halloween, extra rumors are flying about because extra spooky stuff keep happening there and people keep leaving. It's got a lot of weirdness, little rumors flying about. So you're going to counter it with magic. You're reducing scrutiny on the Giovanni building, which requires mental. And obviously the Gemini League have big brains. The strongest of brains. And they are rolling 2 dice. And they rolled a 6. Gosh dang. Which means they reduced it by 3. That's a good thing. Because that, thankfully, delays whatever might happen in a Second Inquisition wise there. The Second Inquisition's attention there for a good wee while. Because the Giovanni building has a negative, which is gain 1 scrutiny to this domain per turn, which means every turn that scrutiny bar goes up by 1. So it's a ticking time bomb until the SI, like the Garment District here, gets some investigation. Pardon me, get some investigation going on, and they have a look into it, because there's some weird things happening. I'll read it out aloud for you guys. Such prime property sells quickly for good money, but no business that temporarily calls the building home seems to last more than a month before packing up their stock and vacating with haste. Soon enough, however, the Gemini building The Gemini building? Not yet. The Giovanni building is sold once more, and the strange cycle continues. Yep, spooky, spooky things are happening to encourage the mortals to just run away and leave with not much reason why. So that is their actions performed. Now we need to do, oh gosh, entanglements. And we are looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 contempt. They're in the 6+ bracket. The Kindred Society ain't very pleased with the Gemini League. They have a lot of side glances. Look, everyone's giving them the side eye, a little bit of whispers and gossip of what is happening over in the Gemini League. Can they be trusted? Does this result in any substantial negative consequences? Lose shunned level coin or lose sway over a primogen. Use contempt 4/5 rule 6 entanglement if not appropriate. Well, I wrote that extra amendment in because it is very possible in this game not to have sway over a primogen, and no one has yet got any sway of primogen, so that is not applicable. So we use contempt 4/5 rule 6 entanglement if not applicable, and I will go to the entanglements and bring it up so you now know what that is. So this is what you rolled, this one here, and because it's not applicable, we instead go to contempt 4/5 rule 6 as if you rolled this one instead. Pay shunned level +1 coin. Play shunned level +1 coin to the lowest status faction, or -1 status with that faction. Who did you piss off and who do you owe? The Gemini League. Who is your lowest status faction? It's the Custodians. So the Custodians want you to pay up. And they want you to pay 1 coin because you have no shunned level yet. You can afford it. So they are going to have you pay 1 coin because you can afford it. Thus, you do not lose status with them, and the Custodians gain that coin. Interesting. Some not so great dynamics happening between the Custodians and the Gemini League. Some harsh words being thrown about. Now, we now move on with that dispute highlighted onto the NPC factions with, I do believe this is correct, yep, the Boston Camarilla going first. What is the Boston Camarilla up to? First of all, they gain 2 XP and 1 coin because of their lovely, the best of the best domains under the government's control. Here we go. Narrative. Every now and then, there is a young fledgling or a naive neonate who steps inside the Grand and takes a sip from Boston's finest Kindred dining. It's not more than a mere seconds before Iverson's personal entourage grabs a hold of them, though, and drags them into the basement. Already, there is rampant speculation about what the punishment will be for the fledgling Malkavian found feeding at the Grand's Halloween party. But if history is any indicator, it will be harsh indeed. The Boston Camarilla is going to resolve the event at the Grand. And the event at the Grand being Prince Iverson's personal club, is a decree enforcement event occurring at this domain, requiring a social roll. No big organization is present, particularly present, and if resolved, it will gain 1 rep and 1 coin. It requires a social roll, as I imagine currently the prince is having to negotiate with not Beryl Underwood, but the Malkavian representative, Richard Dunham, about what exactly the punishment of this maybe negotiate isn't the right word. Negotiate is probably not the right word, because the prince is the prince and they got to lay down the law. And especially for anyone going into her personal feeding stock and drinking from her personal delicacies cannot be tolerated. So the social role, I imagine, is to see how well this goes over with the rest of Boston Camarilla. Now they roll social. They have 1 in social. Let us see how they do. Oop, I have to scroll down. They rolled a 4, so they gain 1 contempt. Not an awful amount of contempt, but a teeny bit of contempt. And now they gain 1 coin and 1 rep. Probably as payment from whatever small earnings this fledgling has. And not XP, reputation, because you got to uphold that law. And the event is removed from the board. Intriguing. Now, let's see what the entanglements are. For 2 contempt, which means we're in the first bracket for the Boston Camarilla. Gain 1 scrutiny to a domain. The Boston Camarilla has, I think, 4 domain. 1 Dalton, which is the prince. Berklee College of Music, which is where Congress meets up. And we have the Grand, which is the personal club. And the Red Salon, which is the fancy Kindred restaurant, let's call it. That any Kindred can go and eat. The Malkavian should have just gone to the Red Salon. It's literally right there. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Roll a d4. We're talking a 3. And the Grand gets the scrutiny. Quite appropriate, I imagine. And it is 1 scrutiny, right? Yep, 1 scrutiny. A little bit of public feeding. Perhaps the Malkavian wasn't the most masquerade friendly in the way they did it, which probably increases the punishment, I imagine, for this per soul. Or do Kindred have souls? I'll let you philosophy, Kindred, debate that. You Kindred interested in philosophy, because the Society of St. Leopold is up next. And yes, if you remember at the beginning of the turn, I have clicked too many buttons and scared the map into shying away. Because it is indeed a scary moment. The first light is assisting the Society of St. Leopold. And the Society of St. Leopold is to perform an investigation action into the Garment District. Now, that is, if we go to investigation in the rulebook, a 6-tick clock. Yes, during the period, NPC Second Inquisition factions may begin a 6-tick clock. If an NPC Second Inquisition faction completes this clock, rolling mental in order to gain ticks in it, before the state of investigation is removed from the domain, they gain control of that domain. And it takes 4 ticks, basically 4 turns, because a 4-tick clock which gains a tick every turn for the state of investigation to be removed. So, Garment District investigation timer, 4 ticks. Garment District investigation. I haven't spelled investigation right. Oh no, have I spelled investigation right? I think I have. No, I haven't. Gosh dang. Who knew doing these stream turns would reveal how inept I am at spelling and reading? There we go. Now, that is gain 1 tick for the timer, and they roll mental plus 1 die because of the first light performing an assist action to see how well they do at this investigation. Not well at all. So that is 1 tick into the investigation of the Society of St. Leopold. Oh, and I need to read out the narrative for the Society of St. Leopold. There was an incident over the Halloween week in the Garment District. A group of hooligan kids got physical with the demonstrations that have been occurring over the past months. 3 people were injured. In response, Boston PD has given the demonstration a police presence for protection. Naturally, public tensions are running a little higher in the market streets. So, in the kindred undead world, the Society of St. Leopold is beginning to investigate kindred activity in the Garment District with the help of the First Light, but they haven't gone off to the best of start. That leaves them there. First Light having... Oh! No, they don't get away. You don't get away. They still have entanglements to roll. So we are talking about entanglements 0 to 3. They gain 1 scrutiny to a domain, but they don't have any scrutiny on their domain. Or what I should be saying is that they don't have any domain to gain scrutiny, so they luck out. Cheeky Society of St. Leopold. And we move to First Light, who did an assist action as their one and only action, but still need to roll roll entanglements. So let's see. And they do gain scrutiny on their own domain over here. Thus ending their bit of the turn. Yeah, the Patriots aren't the only ones with some bad luck. Thankfully, the Second Inquisition seem to be also having bad luck. Good thing for you guys. You guys get the benefit when the Second Inquisition have bad luck. Now, that moves us on after having done the NPC actions. I have actually done this in the incorrect order, but thankfully it doesn't impact things too much because I have to announce something. There has been a boon contract which has been honored, and the Redcoats, who are the acting party, have honored a boon contract with the Gemini League, and thus the Gemini League are now providing them with a boon. So I wonder what it is the Redcoats had to get up to in order to honor that deal. I have to now also introduce to you guys what the events for next turn is. Now let us have a nosy here. We have, if I can see, an occult... Oh, no, what I'm going to do is make that larger on my screen because it is tiny. And I want to be able to read it correctly. It's up there for you guys, so you can start looking ahead of me as I fumble live in front of you fabulous people. Huzzah! Okay, so we have an occult event which is occurring at the Charles River Yacht Club. We have a Kind Politics event at the Prudential Center. We have a Kind Politics event in the Power Station, a Decree Enforcement event at the Mystic Station, a Kindred Dispute at Fort Banks, a Decree Enforcement at Pine Street Inn, which will give you a minor boon. The Decree Enforcement up at the Mystic Station, pardon me, also gives you a major boon. A Kindred Dispute at Southampton Yard, Another kindred dispute at the General Hospital in the Massachusetts General Hospital, and finally a masquerade breach event is occurring at the War Memorial Recreation Center. And there you go. We have turn 3 wrapped up for you guys. We've had interesting shenanigans happen. We've had fiery words be thrown about between the knights and other factions. We've had debts be paid and demanded by the custodians and the Gemini League. So some spicy conversations happening. We've had friendships blossom, and we've had heads be cracked in and a tricky, not so great defending of why their heads have been cracked in. And we've had mediocre attempts by the Society of Saint Leopold and the Second Inquisition to investigate potential kindred activity in the Garment District. You guys have been phenomenal. I will get up the events onto the Discord. I will update the map, and I will hand you all your faction sheets. Hope you're having a fabulous Halloween. And I will see you guys in RP on the server.